Boston Celtics' Bill Russell is an NBA legend who played in the league from 1956 to 1969. Many people know him as the greatest winner in NBA history. This came from the fact that he was a 5-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, and the man known for winning 11 NBA championships during his 13-year career. To top this off, over his career he averaged 15.1 points per game, 22.5 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists per game. Sure, he accomplished all this throughout his time in the NBA, but it's still not as impressive as Jordan's 6 championships or Magic Johnson's 5. Although many people claim that he is the greatest player in NBA history, I don't believe that to be the case. I actually believe that he was honestly overrated. The greatest winner in NBA history? Sure. Greatest player? No. But then again, like any other video, it's time for me to back up my claim. Today we take a look at the career of NBA player Bill Russell and why he is the most overrated legend in NBA history. Welcome to NBA Insider. As one of the smartest players in NBA history, Bill Russell mostly dominated on the court using his defense. He was an amazing player when it came to blocking shots. Not only that, but he would block shots in a way so that either him or his teammates were able to gain possession of the ball. Might not seem like a big deal, but it's actually pretty hard to control the ball like that when going for a block. Using his defensive tactics, Bill created a strategy that allowed for him to stop the opposing team from scoring while supporting the Celtics' fast break defense. Because of factors such as this and his outstanding accomplishments throughout his career, the Professional Basketball Writers Association of America decided to label Bill Russell as the greatest player in the history of the NBA in 1980. However, in order to determine just how great a player was, we would have to take a look at their overall game. This means both offensively and defensively, and their ability to play in any era and still dominate. The greatest players can dominate both ends of the court and win multiple championships just to prove that winning the first time wasn't luck. And sure, Bill Russell's 11 rings are amazing, but it's not nearly as impressive as it sounds. That's because winning rings and winning them consistently weren't the same thing as they are now. First things first, Bill Russell played during an era where there were fewer NBA teams. When he won all of his championships, there were roughly 9 to 10 teams he was playing against. Compare that to today's day and age where there are a total of 30 teams and you get a better idea of just how much of an advantage Bill Russell had. Because of the small amount of teams in the league, Bill Russell had a higher chance of winning almost every championship, let alone 11. To top it off, there were fewer playoff rounds and the top teams such as the Celtics often cruised past the first round with ease. Compared to when Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson had to win 15 playoff games to win a title and sometimes play 20 games or more, Bill Russell played between 10 and 14 games to win his first 8 championships in a row. By playing fewer games along with shorter NBA seasons, this gave Russell a clear advantage over future NBA generations. Aside from this, many people still argue that each team he was facing had a variety of talented players, including the likes of Wilt Chamberlain. However, the amount of competition Bill was facing does not compare to that of today's game or even that of the Jordan era. Another factor to consider was just how stable the NBA was at the time. Back in the 1950s and 60s, there were no free agencies or salary caps. As a matter of fact, salaries were so small that many players had to work second jobs during the off-season to support their families. However, this allowed for both players and teams to be more flexible. If a player wanted to change teams, all they needed to do was be cut or get traded. And since Russell's teams were stacked with future Hall of Famers and All-Stars including John Havlicek, Bob Cousy, Sam Jones, and much more, there was no need to worry about any players leaving. As a result, teams were more stable, especially if they were successful, and the Boston Celtics were definitely successful. And no, I'm not just going to skip over the fact that Russell played with 16 different players throughout his career who each ended up becoming future Hall of Famers. 16! Oh my god. In his entire career, he has never played with less than 4 Hall of Famers on one team. And in 1963, he even played with 8 Hall of Famers in one season. Because of this, the Celtics had far superior talent over any other team during his era. And even with all of this talent, Boston barely beat many teams such as the Lakers. So just how great was his legacy? Now, when we go into detail on his game, Bill Russell's offensive stats were fairly average. He didn't exactly dominate offensively, scoring 15.1 points per game while making 44% of his field goals and 56% of his free throws. Some may argue that he played more of a team game and was not required to score as much with an overstacked team like his, but history says otherwise. Moving onwards, during the first 8 years of Bill Russell's career, the foul line in the NBA was only 12 feet wide. In 1964, after the NBA widened the lane to 16 feet, Bill Russell only averaged 12.6 points per game. Barely impressive. However, Bill Russell did have an incredible athletic ability and vertical leap. This gave him an advantage over players of his era who were smaller, weaker, and less less athletic than players today. As a matter of fact, when Wilt Chamberlain entered the league in 1960, there were only 4 players in the league that were taller than 6'8", including Wilt Chamberlain at 7'1" and Bill Russell at 6'9". This lack of height in the competition allowed for almost all of the offensive rebounds in Russell's favor, which is why he averaged a total of 22.5 rebounds throughout his entire career. Despite this, his height advantage should have also given him the chance to be able to score more dominantly. Compare both of these to today's game where players are much taller and stronger, and Bill Russell would not have performed as well. Let's not forget about how games were played during his era. In the late 1950s and early 60s, NBA teams played with a fast offensive mind state, sort of like a Chino Hill style, for any of you guys who pay attention to the Ball brothers. Anyhow, during this time, the NBA games were the highest scoring in league history. In 1961, the average team scored 118 points per game, and in the 1962 season, the average team had roughly 152 ball possessions. Pretty clear difference compared to the last 20 years where teams have averaged around 90 to 100 possessions per game. Because of the high amounts of possessions given during Russell's era, players had almost an increased 50% chance to score. This would have given Bill Russell a scoring average of about 10 points per game in today's game, and that's without considering having a 16-foot foul lane and competing against taller players. Finally, let's take a look at Bill Russell's defense and just how great it would be in today's NBA. Unfortunately for us, block shots were not recorded during Bill Russell's 13-year NBA career. However, based on his blocking ability, his 6'9" height, and 220-pound weight, I think it's fair to say he would most likely be a power forward in today's NBA. The problem is that the center mentality that Bill Russell built during his career in the league wouldn't be as great in today's era. A major reason for this is due to the difference between the NBA in the 1960s and today. For starters, with the three-point line being introduced after Bill Russell's career, he did not have to deal with as many perimeter shots. Teams in today's NBA have many outside shooters such as Stephen Curry and Kyle Korver. Because of this, many coaches design plays for a three-point shot. Back in Bill Russell's era, the whole purpose of each possession was to get a shot as close to the basket as possible. The main issue with this strategy was that centers like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain could wait in the paint for countless shots to block. Because of this, Bill Russell's defensive ability was greater than today, especially considering his height in comparison to the competition. At one point, even Wilt Chamberlain was recording a total of 28 block shots in a single game. It's hard to believe that Bill Russell could come anywhere close to matching those stats today. The other area Bill Russell dominated was rebounding. He averaged a total of 22.5 rebounds per game, second most to Wilt Chamberlain. As a matter of fact, out of the 24 40 rebound games recorded in NBA history, Bill Russell owns 8 of them. However, because teams back then averaged more possessions, this meant it led to more rebounding opportunities, and being among the tallest and most athletic players during the era clearly showed that Russell had an advantage in grabbing those rebounds. To top this off, teams shot below a 40% rate in the late 1950s, allowing for Bill Russell's Celtics to average anywhere between 58 and 66 rebounds per game as a team. In the modern era, I believe Russell's rebounding average would drop down to 14 rebounds per game. Still pretty impressive if you ask me. Russell was a smart and intense player, but when we compare his defensive ability to a more modern era with more competition and fewer opportunities, then we get to better understand a player who may have had the easy way out. In conclusion, Bill Russell was a great winner. Although he might not have won as much today, he was still a dominant rebounder, defender, and a great leader. Because of this and his accomplishments, his legacy will live on forever. However, in my opinion, Russell cannot be considered as the greatest all time just because he won multiple championships and excelled at defense. As I have shown throughout this video, if we were to put him in today's NBA, he would not be the same Bill Russell that we know. I believe he would accomplish career stats of 11 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, and 3 blocks per game, similar numbers to that of Dikembe Mutombo's. Overall, Bill Russell would not have the same effect on the league. Bill Russell has helped to change the way the game is played. However, in comparison to other legends, I cannot claim he is the greatest player or center of all time, but that's just my opinion. And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching NBA Insider.